Dear Canon, first off I want to say you guys have some good products and I have used Canon all my life. My dad and my grandpa used Canon, then I came along and I started using Canon. I first got my Canon camera in June of 2013 for my birthday. It was the Canon T2i and I saved up all my birthday money to get this camera. This camera worked great for me until I figured out what I wanted to do, and then a year later I realized it was time for an upgrade. So I bought a Canon 70D in June of 2014 for $1,000. I've never made a purchase this big in my life before. I used this for about a year, and then the Sony A7S caught my attention with the ability to record 4K video. So I started looking into Sony cameras, then I found this little Sony camera called the A5000 and it was released in 2014. I read up a lot on it and I realized Sony knows what's going on, so I sold my T2i and with that money I bought the A5000. You're probably wondering why switch to Sony, and that is a good question. First off, most Sony cameras are mirrorless, and that means they do not have a mirror mechanism inside them. Now, with the advancing in technology in Sony's sensors, they are really great in low light. Also, with a simple Sony E-mount to Canon EF mount adapter, you can use your amazing Canon lenses on it. I realized it had almost the same specs as my Canon 70D, but I picked up the A5000 for $200. At that moment I realized I need to switch to Sony. I did a ton of research and I finally found the perfect thing, the Sony A7. It has a 24 megapixel full frame sensor that can shoot 1080 video at 60 frames a second. This was a great deal to me because Canon only has 1080 at 30 frames per second, even in their professional full frame cameras such as the 5D Mark III and the 6D, and those cost $1,500 and up. I picked up my A7 for about $800 on eBay. Recently Canon announced this camera called the 1DX Mark III, and it didn't have anything really special in it, only the camera cost over $6,000. Now, this company called Blackmagic released the camera last year at NAB called the Ursa Mini. It cost only $3,000, half the price of the 1DX Mark II. Also, Sony fired back with a camera called the A6300. It only cost $1,000. This has 90% of the features the 1DX has, but for a sixth of the cost. So just recently, the Canon 80D was announced. This camera needs to be destroyed because it will cost you $1,200 for the body only, and it shoots 1080 video up to 60 frames a second. Dumb idea, Canon. This is 2016, not 2012. Even Nikon made a 4K capable DSLR for $2,000, but if you're going to spend that much money, just save an extra $1,000 and get the Sony A7S Mark II. The coolest thing about the A7S Mark II is that it has built-in stabilization. This means that you do not have to use the IS lenses, and you can save the extra money you would spend on IS lenses because they cost a little more, and you can put that money to something useful like coffee or pizza if you're hungry. Or you can go to more camera gear. Doesn't matter. So this is the point I'm trying to make. Canon needs to pay attention to the market and to technology. The only people that will buy their new cameras are the die-hard Canon fanboys. 4K video will be the future, and just about every smartphone made in 2016 can shoot 4K video. Always make sure before you buy a camera that you research it fully first and make sure there is nothing better out there for you.